Hey there, herd members. Welcome back to another WV Guns and Goats video. Here's the gun, there's the goats, and we're out here on a beautiful day in West Virginia. On the range today with the Riton Optics Conquer 5 to 25 by 56. Now this is a long range precision scope with a 34mm tube, a Christmas tree style reticle, and mill adjustments. Now I also have the high rings from Riton right here, and the scope and the rings were provided to us by Riton for this video. Now we did take a look at one of their LVPO scopes, the 1 to 10 scope, and we had some usability issues with that optic, but hopefully this one here redeems them a little bit, being one of their higher end precision scopes. Now we have the Ruger Precision rimfire rifle here today. We are looking at this scope as a precision scope for your rimfire rifle because the parallax on this scope goes down to 20 yards all the way out to infinity. So I know that precision rimfire has been getting more and more popular with the precision rifle series adding a rimfire class a couple years ago. Guys are starting to get more and more into rimfire precision shooting, and if you don't have a rimfire bolt gun, you really should get one because they are a ton of fun to shoot. You can build the same fundamentals for accuracy with this as you can with a centerfire rifle, but you can do it for much cheaper and well quieter if you have a suppressor for your 22 rimfire. Now in this video, what we're going to be doing is I'll unbox this optic, give you my first impressions about it. I'll also put the specs of this scope on the screen so you can check them out. And then we're going to mount it with these rings to the Ruger Precision rimfire here, and we're going to do some shooting with it. And we're just going to see how accurate we can shoot with this scope mounted to the Ruger here. So that's what's in store for you in tonight's WV Guns and Goats video. And if you're not a herd member yet, how about you go ahead and headbutt that subscribe button. Now there are already videos out online of this scope on centerfire rifles, so we're looking at it on the rimfire. Now let's start by taking a look at these rings right here. They're 34mm, 18mm height, and it recommends a torque value of 15 to 18 inch-pounds. Now they don't feel heavy enough to be steel rings. I believe they are aluminum rings. Yes, they're definitely aluminum rings, anodized black. You get 2 rings and an Allen key in there. Now there's 4 screws total that hold the scope caps to the bases, and they've got the rubber pads on the inside, on the bottom and top of the ring there. You also have these large thumb nuts right there, and they do have the flats cut in them for a wrench. They also have a hole that you can put the Allen key in if you need to loosen them up or tighten them down. Probably loosen them up after you've torqued them down on the rifle itself. Now I'm going to get these scope rings out of the way and show you the scope itself. There's not a lot of markings on the box, just their website, and well, you've got the scope information on the end of the box there, and the name 5 Conquer 5 to 25 by 56. It has a magnetic flap that opens up and presents the scope to you just like that. Let's go ahead and unbox it, but first I'm going to show you all the specs of the scope. So there's not really a lot of stuff that comes in this box with the scope. In fact, there's not even a sunshade in the box with the scope. It does come with 2 foam blocks that hold it into place during shipping. Now when it comes to paperwork, you get a sticker and a warning about the 2032 battery, and then you get this Riton card here, which has a QR code on the back of it that'll take you to the website so you can view the electronic manual for this scope. Now it seems like a lot more manufacturers are going to electronic manuals on their website instead of printing one, but it is always nice to have a printed manual though, especially if you're somewhere where you don't have a lot of reception and you need to look up something about your scope. You're going to get this microfiber cleaning cloth right there. You're also going to get 2 Allen keys, a small Allen key and a large Allen key. The small Allen key is for setting the zero stop that's underneath these turrets here, and the large Allen key is for accessing that zero stop and also adjusting the position of the cattail on the magnification knob. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, the first thing I noticed when I picked this scope up is it's kind of heavy, and a lot of the weight is back here. Now, this is a 34mm tube, so you'd think it'd have some weight to it, but it seems like more of the weight is in the eyepiece right here than it is in the 56mm objective there. It comes with some plastic scope caps. They flip up. They seem like they got a pretty strong spring in them. Flip them up out of the way. Now, they don't lay flat, but they are like a lot of the scope caps on the market. They just stand at like a 90-ish degree angle. On the front lens here is a nice green multi-coating to the lens. Looking at the body of this scope, the finish is nice and uniform, and it's not super shiny, more of a matte black finish. And that allows the markings on this scope, the lasered on markings, to be bright white and really stand out. You can see all the markings around the magnification ring, the name on the side of the eyepiece there, the markings on the bottom of the scope. You can see them very easy. They stand out against that matte finish. Let's check out the turrets on this scope. This is the mill version. There is also an MOA version. Let's see how they feel when you adjust them. Okay, as I turn these, they are mushy. They're not super sharp, and they're not very audible at all. They don't have a nice sharp click to them. I can kind of hear it, but it's not sharp, not loud, and the adjustments are a little bit mushy there. On the side here, they are the same. Mushy, not sharp, not audible. They have a slight click to them, but they don't feel like they take a lot of force to bump them into a different adjustment. Like, you can easily probably bump these out of adjustment with the low amount of force that they take to make an adjustment to these turrets. On the turrets themselves, though, they have, it looks like rifling, and it does make it easy to grab these turrets and adjust them though. On this side, we have the parallax and we have the illumination. The parallax does move smoothly, and it takes a bit of firm pressure to adjust it. The illumination is nice because it has an off position in between each of the illumination settings. So if you're using setting number 4 and you want to turn it off, you don't have to scroll down through 3 through 1 to turn it off at 0. You can give it a click up or a click down, and you'll have turned the illumination off. And then if you like that illumination setting in general, or if you need one of the other illumination settings, you can quickly get back to it because you don't have to scroll through the other illumination settings to get to your preferred one. Now let's take a look at the magnification knob. It does take a firm bit of force to move, but it moves smoothly. There's no grittiness to it. Here's the thing with that cattail. Now this is at maximum magnification. You can see it's 90 degrees to the body of the scope. Now that could interfere with certain firearms. So if I turn this around here, we see this position right here, the auxiliary position. You can move this cattail into this position, and when it's on maximum magnification, it hangs off the left side of your firearm. Of course, you could take the cattail off completely if you didn't want it on there, but it's nice to have a second position that won't interfere with the receiver of your firearm. So let's go ahead and mount this up on our little Ruger Precision rimfire and try it out. So now I've got it mounted here on the Ruger, and look at this. I had to actually turn the cheek piece around to face the back of the gun, to face the shooter, and I had to adjust this stock out because this scope has 3.5 inches of eye relief, so I really had to move everything back to get to a position where I could use the scope's eye box. So went ahead and got it sighted in, and here is the sight in group for the scope on this rifle. Pretty good group there. Now what we're gonna do next is we're gonna shoot 5 groups. I got some different ammo, Federal Auto Match, some CCI Subsonic 22, some Gecko 22 Match, RWS Target Rifle, and American Eagle High Velocity Match. Now, in the interest of time, and because watching someone shoot a bolt action over and over is kind of boring, we're gonna go ahead and skip to the results of those groups. Okay, so here are those groups we shot at about 30 yards. We have the RWS, Gecko, CCI, and a Federal High Velocity. All shot good. Auto Match didn't shoot that great, but that's an ammo issue, not a scope issue. The scope made it easy to shoot these groups here, and it had plenty of magnification to do so on a rimfire rifle up close here. I didn't find the reticle fighting us, and I didn't find the scope's eye box fighting me either, as opposed to how it was on one of their LVPO scopes. Okay, so it shot pretty good groups there with the different types of ammo. Now let's try a box test. I'm going to shoot some CCI Subsonic for this test, and we're going to start out shooting a 5-round group. I'll move it 10 clicks down, and then shoot another group, 10 clicks to the right, group, up 10 clicks, group, and back to the left 10 clicks, and we should be right there at our original group. And as before, in the interests of time, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to those results right now. Here's the results of that box test. You can see that we have our box of groups here. We started in the center with a 5-round group, then we moved down, right, up, and back left, and our last group ended up right back where our first group was. We spent a few hours out here with the Riton Conquer 5 5-25 by 56 scope as a rimfire precision scope, and I think it did all right out here on the range. The scope does go down to 20 yards parallax, so it is usable on the shorter ranges that you would shoot a rimfire rifle at. And then of course you can go out to longer ranges as well. The glass quality was really good. The image quality was excellent. Here on the short range, I could easily see my target, could read the text on the target at maximum magnification. Now, because that crosshair isn't super thick when it's on a 5x magnification, well, that crosshair is very, very fine and could only really be used as a 3-post crosshair. However, we also shot a box test there, and our first and our last group were back at the same area. So far, scope did it pretty well. Looking through it, the field of view, while not super wide, is not super tight either. I didn't have the issue of really losing the target once I got on target when it was at maximum magnification, even though it was here at a shorter range. But how did this scope look at a longer range out there? Well, at about 100 yards, there's a baler and a barn, and I could see the make and model sticker on that baler with the scope at its higher magnification levels, but I can't see that with the naked eye right here. I could also see definition in the foliage on the ground around the baler and around the barn. I looked at the edges of the image in there, and I did not notice any distortion or any discoloration at the edges of the image. Now, when I went up and down through the magnification range, I didn't notice a noticeable brightening or darkening of the image. It stayed pretty much the same brightness the whole way through the magnification range, probably due to this 56mm objective and 34mm tube letting a lot of light in. However, back here, due to those, you have a eye box that is very good. It was easy to get behind. It was a little tight, but not unusable, not super tight where you have to fight it at all. It was on par with most scopes for their eye box. However, this 3.5 inches of eye relief, well, I had to really move my stock out here and change this cheek piece to face rearwards so I could use the eye relief on this scope. A very generous eye relief that you may have to run a cantilever scope mount to move this scope further forwards, depending on what rifle you're using it on. So let's talk about the turrets on this scope. While this large knurling allows you to easily turn these turrets, they don't need a lot of force to turn, and when they click, it's mushy, it's not sharp, and it's not audible. I would really like to see the clicks on this sharper, more audible, maybe take a little bit more force to make adjustments to these knobs, because there's a chance of those knobs getting hit and knocked out of adjustment when you're storing it in your safe or when you're carrying it around in the field. However, there is a zero stop system in this scope that you could set and then just check against the zero stop if your scope is still in adjustment. Another issue I had with this scope was the illumination. Even though I had it on level 6, I didn't notice it being super bright or blooming or having to turn it down at all. And even though it was a cloudy day today, it wasn't so bright that I had to adjust it down off of its highest setting. So I really don't think that this is a daylight bright scope. So they could improve the illumination on this scope as well. Don't really have any complaints about the magnification ring. It doesn't take too little or too much force to adjust it, and it moves nice and smoothly. So if you're out there looking for an option for a rimfire precision scope, you might want to check this one out from Riton. Of course, there are a lot of other scopes out there on the market, and this is just one of many scopes out there. So everybody, this has been another WV Guns and Goats video. And as always, if you're not out there having fun shooting, well, what are you doing?